Right, Wednesday afternoon, and it is Jo's YouTube live. Okay, Wooliecottage. Right, today is one of my first collection of my swag along, and if you follow me on Instagram, I've been mentioning this for the last couple of weeks. It is swag is spin along, spin yarn, weave with yarn, and create a garment all out of one woven panel. And I did mention that it's not a collaboration with the pattern designer. I've had consent from her to be able to use a pattern I've bought from her on this channel. And if you want to go and see if there's any patterns on her Etsy shop, it's Sarah Howard is the creator, and her Etsy shop is Get Weaving with Sarah. And you'll find quite a few different patterns that you can get on her Etsy shop, or you can reach out to her on Instagram as well. And she also has a Facebook page where you see her weaving different types of fabrics and textured yarns to make garments herself, which she wears all the time. So yes, so today it's not an educational tutorial, it's just you following along with me on dyeing, which I'm going to be doing today, dyeing and then preparing it for next week's video, which I'll be doing blending with my wool to get the colours that I'm actually looking for by adding in other things to it. And then from the week after that, it'll be starting to spin it up. But what I thought I would talk about today is colours. So I don't know if I think there was one person here, so I don't know. Let me just see chat. Okay, live chat, all messages are visible. Okay, can't see any chat at the moment, but it's fine. But if I don't see them, it's not. I might have to turn my camera around or something. Yeah, so I have got, it's all wet and soaked at the moment, but I have got this, and it's got merino, silk and flax in there. One of my favourite wools to spin and play with, and I love when you dye with it because it doesn't set a true solid colour through it. It's like pigments and strong tones and hints and bits and pieces. And I don't want my coat, I've bought a jacket pattern, I haven't got it in here, I'll show it next week. I've got a pattern where it's a jacket, but it can be two different styles, but I don't want it to be one solid colour. I want it to have sort of a denim but brown sort of look about it. So that's what I'm doing. So I got my watercolour pens out, and I did, can you see it? Maybe the light's a bit bright. So I got my watercolour pens out and I put the blues and the browns together, the closest match that I could get to what I've got. And I just wanted to see what it looked like from afar, and I'd say that the brown would be quite dominant on there. So then that made me think, okay, if I go for very light shades of brown in between with the darker brown towards the end, and then add in the blues as well, then they'll pop out a little bit. But I don't want either one of those colours to be dominant, so I will be using some very light, maybe a milk coffee sort of brown colour in my colours when I'm dyeing them up now, and when I blend them. If I think some colours need calming down, then I can calm them down by adding in creams. If I don't think there's enough blue in my wool when I go to blend it next week, well, I've got some lovely blue steel and sapphire blue merino that's already dyed upstairs in my workshop anyway, and I can add those colours in. But then I'm also going to add in some, it's gorgeous, it's one of my favourite colours, sari silks from World of Wool, and it's the wildflower one, so it's predominantly like a golden orange with hints of browns and things like that, as well as little snippets of pinks, just to give another dimension and a bit of a tweedy look to my wool as well. So I have got this book, it's called Creative Weaving. Hi Anne. Oh, do you know what, Anne, I was beginning to think that because I had my camera up right, I won't be able to see any messages today. I've got this book, and it's called Creative Weaving, and it is just a small weaving book, and it does give you little hints and demonstrations of how to get set up and everything. But what I love about it is that it gives you colour ideas of putting certain colours together and how they look from a distance view, like the way that they're matrix together or blend in together, that you don't always see it until you go and look at an item close up. So you've got this one here. So they predominantly use all different shades of pinks in these, and then this is what it looks like. So you'll find that some colours will be really quite strong and will be quite domineering, but when you start adding in other colours, you end up with a different effect. So that's just pinks, for example. Where else we got? We've got oranges. So by adding in teals and emerald greens into an orange, you can really calm that colourway down. So I suppose it's more of a rainbow effect on there. But if you love the colour orange but you don't like it as a solid colour, then there's nothing stopping you from adding in other little colours that will mix in really well. So not either one will be dominant. But to me, looking at this now, that's actually looks like a ribbon weaving. And it's got oranges and it's got greens, different shades of greens and browns in there. But for me, the first colour that pops is the actual green. So that's the sort of things you want to think about before you start spinning it up. Like with my pinafore, which I'll show you next week because it is upstairs in the studio, and I will make a point of getting it fixed and sort out my hemming, and then I can wear it next week. But you've got these lemons. Now I love lemons, but if you add in a white, you make it more from a distance point of view a pastel colour. So even adding in like this antique, it's more of a beige, like an antique gold, but it's more of a beige colour in there. It's not totally yellow, but adding in those sort of colours can make it more of a straw yellow as well. So you've got that. You've got the blues, mixing in blues and greens in together, adding in different tones of blues. So blues on there, which is really, it's good for the imagination. It is called, for anybody interested, called Creative Weaving, Gaia Traditional Crafts. It is by Sarah Howard and Elizabeth Kendrick. So Sarah Howard, the lady from Get Weaving, that's one of her books as well. Sorry if I've missed the chat. I think I've had a couple, but I've not seen them. No, I can't. Sorry, it's because I was looking at the book. So yeah, what I've done. So if you want to suggest some colours that's in your mind, let me know. I'll grab my pens, and I'll put them in my little watercolour book, and we'll see what they look like afterwards. Now these colours, some of those blues, once they've been washed out, they go more of a like a tealy colour, but I don't mind that because the brown's such a warm colour. It calms down that blue so it doesn't look so cold. But I quite like the way that's come out. And not just by doing this as well, if you're lucky enough to have watercolour paints at home or watercolour pens or pencils, then you can play around with colours. And as I've got that straight there in my face, but from a distance it gives me a different point of view of it. So I've already done my die stocks, okay. Now I have actually made them up today. Top tip, okay, when you're doing roving in your tray or locks or yarn in your tray, just have enough water in there to soak back up that wool and fibre. If you're using solution dyes, so like you've already made up your dye stock in a little jar and then you're going to pour it on. Partly, well, there's two reasons. If you add too much liquid, the dye stocks are all blending together. So you'll end up losing a lot of the identity of each colours, and you can make it a little bit muddy and it doesn't quite come out as bold as what you'd like. If I was doing speckling, if I was just literally just putting my dye powder straight onto the roving, then I would add in a little bit more water, so it's just literally sitting quite flush on the top, and then that would all soak into the yarn, but I'd probably end up with a lot more patchy bits in there. So I've literally made up a stock, and the best thing for that as well when you're doing this sort of thing is that you can write down on a notepad if you ever need to go and make up more of it. When you're speckling, you're literally just having, you're winging it, okay, you're just being a bit creative. But when you make up your dye stock solution and you use a measuring spoon or something like that, and you make sure that each pot that you pour into, you write down how much liquid that you've put in it, whether, I mean, I don't think I've got measurements on the backs of these. This one I definitely haven't, but I know that's half a pot of hot water, and I have put in exactly a quarter tablespoon in my measure, quarter tablespoon of dye stock in each of my pots, and then I'll make a note of that. Of it, exactly. Hi, Linda. Hi, Anne. Linda's saying. Each one of these spoons is in each one of my dye colours, and if I write down the dye that I've used and the exact measurements I've used, and there's 200 grams of roving in here, then I know to write that down. And then if I need to dye more yarn later on in the project, once I've warped it up and I think, oh, you know what, I think I'm going to be a bit short on this. That way, I can come back because I know exactly how much it is that I use. Now, I'm not really one for taking notes. I like to just be experimental and just carry on. But for something like this, where I could muck up the warp, have some sort of accident, not do or decide halfway through that I don't like the way that I'm spinning it, then that way I can go back and reproduce the exact same colorway as what I was doing to start with. So if you've got any questions, let me know, or drop me in the comments later on, because this will upload and it'll probably take till tomorrow morning before it comes back onto my YouTube for you to re-watch and revisit again. So I have got, which one is this one? This is blue steel. Now I'm using Dharma dyes. If you've never played, if you want to do something like this yourself at home, get yourself a steel roasting tray. This is, hold on a minute, I got it from Amazon, this one, and it cost me about 16-17 quid, and it is 13 inches by 17 inches roasting tray, stainless steel. I've had this one for about 3 years, and I've got little holes where the metal's where everything in the bottom of it, and from the acid all the time. Get yourself one of those, stainless steel, and then you're off. Now, if you're not one for big chemicals and things like that, which I totally understand, you can just use vinegar, or you can actually, Wilkinson's sell little sachets of citric acid. So you can go in there, I think it's like for a little packet, I think it's about 75 or 100 grams, and it's about 75 pence in there. It's on the cleaning aisle. I have spotted it, so you can get them. Now, Wing and Wool, Wool Warehouse do really great landscape dyes, a mass array of different colours. Now they're slightly expensive for what they are, because what you're getting is a pot, I think it's 25 grams of a dye stock with citric acid in it, and it's about £3.50 a pot or thereabouts. But you can buy the starter box, which gives you 6 dyes from a collection from their seasonal ranges, and it's a beginner's kit, and you don't need anything else once you've got that. But the more dye you put into your water when you're using it, the stronger the colour gets. So if you want a really strong colour of it, like a sea salt or a sea mist or something from their colour range, then the more dye you add to that, the stronger the colour saturation is going to be in your wool. Just a top tip, but they're brilliant for beginners, and they're the dyes that I started out with before I managed to get a hold of Dharma dyes. And occasionally I use dyes from Adelaide Walker, and I have used World of Wool dyes as well, which are really good and not too bad value for money. But what I get, I actually get more money from, get more dye for my money. I get 50 gram pots now, which does me a lot longer, and I don't pay half as much for it. Right, so I'm going to get on with this. I'm going to start this. So I've got this. I think I said midnight blue. So I'm doing a gradient like I did last week there, Anne. So I'm literally just going to pour this in, and because it's in a loose solution, it means it will saturate my wool a lot more. So I've still got half a pot there, so I'm going to stick that to one side. This one is that one was steel blue, this is midnight blue. So I'm going to leave a bit of a gap in between them. Now this one's got more purpley undertones, which is what I really want to try and avoid. So I'm just going to push that over to that one a bit more, and again, that's half my solution. Next, I have got, actually I think I'll go with this one. This one is olive brown. So now I'm going to start trying to break down these colours a little bit and add in my olive brown dye stock. And put that in. And because I'm using a stock solution, the water level's rising, which means I'll get a lot more colour in there. And then 1, 2, 3, this one next, chocolate brown. This dye is actually from Siobhan at Siobhan Crafts. So I'm just going to pour this in. I love this chocolate brown because it actually breaks. So I end up with like little different colour saturations in throughout this actual wool. And I'm going to leave it like that for now, because I have got a soft tan, which is more like a beige, but I want these to all settle down first before I put them in here in case they spread up my dye pot, which means they'll all start bleeding in and I will lose the colour from that, because I've actually got 100 grams put to one side from a soft tan if this doesn't go as I'd like it to. So I'm just going to give them all a good tamper down. I may end up topping up this midnight blue because it's very purpley and I'm really not wanting the purple. I don't want purple again. So I might top that up with some blue in a bit once we get through. I'll see how it ends up soaking in. Because you can always add more liquids, but you can, when you start dyeing, it's so much harder to take it away. Right, so that's that all tapped in there. I think I'm really not happy about that midnight blue being so purple. I knew it had a purple undertone, but it's really not what I was looking for. So I think what I'm going to do is pour some of this blue steel. Pour some of this blue steel over the top of this one, just to calm that purple down a little bit, I think. There, I'll do that like that and leave that. I can always start build up some more stock, and it would help if I actually put some citric acid in. Oh. Right, turn me. See if it works this week, Anne. There we go. So I'm just going to leave that up quite high for the moment until it starts warming up quite a bit more, and then yeah, it's already starting to bubble now. Start turning that down. I'm actually going to push that over first. Right, so you've got my attention. So anybody got any questions? So this shouldn't take too long to get set off. Any questions? So I mean, that's generally the crux of it. So I've got another 200 grams there to do the exact same colour saturation on this, and then I've got 100 grams left over, which if this doesn't go quite the way that I'd like it to, then I know that I can have a play around and add the colour in on the other roving. So I'm just thinking, I've actually got this vase of flowers. So you may feel inspired by a picture image that looks like that. So out of that you've got like a ballerina baby pink, and then you've got this purpley pink, and then you've got these deeper shades of purple, then with the green flitted in between them, and then maybe even a little dash of white. Does it stay as dark? Those colours, because I haven't got a lot of liquid in this tray, they should take on quite a bold hue. But some dyes, Linda, the pigments will change with the heat. So what you think you're putting in sometimes comes out a shade lighter or a shade darker, because I've got dye pigments that are one colour, but when I've got them in the dye pot, the colours change all completely once that chemical reaction kicks in. But yes, but to be fair, I don't mind if my if I end up with little white bits in this, because it will break down my colours when I'm actually blending them up anyway. You won't notice them. And I actually think I might get away with putting this tan in at the side here. So I'm just going to pour that in now and add that. But yeah, the more your water acts like your white. There's no such thing as a white dye, and it always makes me laugh when people think, "Oh, I need white dye." Like, there's no such thing as a white dye. Your water acts like your white, in the sense of the more water you add to your dye stock, the more diluted your dye is going to be. So if you've got like a coffee bean brown, okay, which actually looks purple in here. But when, if I was to put a spoonful of that, a teaspoon of that into say 50 mils of water, then that's going to become really quite a strong colour. If I put in half a teaspoon of dye stock into 50 mils, it's going to be a couple of shades lighter, and so on and so on, until you get down to, yeah, the water acts like your white. That's the way you've got to think of it. So the less water to use dye solution, the stronger your pigment's going to get. The more water you add to the exact same measurement, the less saturated that colour's going to be. So that's where you get to play with colours. You can add dye colours to each other to create brand new colours. That's when you really start need to take your notes, because if it worked out brilliantly and you've got a colour that you never knew that you could get by mixing different coloured pigments together, then unless you wrote that information down, you will never be able to get it again. And you'll find there's a lot of yarn dyers take a lot of notes when they're creating yarns in case they become bestsellers. That way they know exactly what it is that they've used, or at least the colours that they've used. Some on YouTube will do them, but they're just sprinkling and on top, and there's no way of you being able to weigh out what it is. All you can do is write a note down of what colours you used in there. They're never going to be the exact same every time. It's the same even if you take notes, to be fair, because there could be something, you may have put in a lot more citric acid into your dye. You might be a couple of mils out on the amount of water that you've put in your dye pot. Maybe the company that you buy your dyes from have changed the pigment makeup of the dye that they've made, because that happens. Yeah, there could be a vast array of why one dye job might not look exactly the same as the other, and that's the whole point about hand-dyed wools. They're unique. Every single one of them are unique processes. So I'm just gonna give them a little nudge over, and already my dye solution is looking like it's just about saturated in there. This blue needs to take up a bit more, but I have got some blank bits under there. Yeah, so they just need to go in. Now it looks all one solid colour at the moment. Are you leaving dyeing to me, are you? Well, if you're ever through this way, I'll give you a little quick lesson. It won't be the first time. But yeah, that's how when with art yarns and rovings and things like that, you can see the changes in the colour happening. Yeah, because I put in the, which one did I put in there? I put in the olive brown, and it's ended up with a bit of a green hue to it, which is not what I was expecting, because I've used it before and I'm like, why is it going green? But then it could be just the light in here because it's so flaming gloomy outside. But yeah, it is amazing what can happen, and all it takes is the temperature be off, even down to your local water supply, and then upgrading the filtration system sometimes could be something like that, or the type of water, the pH balance of your water at home. You could have quite a high acidic water supply, or very alkaline, which means you need to build up more acid in your water for the actual dye to stick to the wool. But yeah, if you want to go and play, I mean, those little dye kits, I think they're about 20 quid for a set of 6 colours that are ready for you to just go off and play with them, and that's the landscape dyes. I think actually Thresh and Barn have their own, I think it's called Gay Dyes, and their ones are citric acid based as well, and I know that Coastal Colours, they use those dyes in their wool. But yeah, I've never tried them, and I'm not really that fussed. I'm quite happy with the ones that I use at the moment. I'm building up this collection of Dharma dyes, go on to the cold water dyes, but that means that I'll be able to get really strong bold colours in my plant fibres, because I do use citric dyes on my plant fibres, but sometimes it'll adhere, sometimes it doesn't. I'll do jar dyeing with them and leave them sat in the window, or you need to make sure that you've got Eucalan on these fibres, and that actually helps them adhere to the plant fibres because there's nothing to grip to. because of the way that they've been processed and everything else. Silks are really easy to dye with these, with citric acids. But when you start talking about plant-based and cotton fibres and things like that, then you're looking at cold water dyes, Procyon dyes, which I can get hold of from the same ladies I get my dyes from. So I will be venturing down to build up that stock at some point. So yeah, I know there's a bit of a drag on this. I don't know why, but hopefully it will sort itself out. So any other questions? Right, yes. So I was on about those flowers, those tulips. I think it's like a panther that's in there, and the pink roses. So if I grabbed that coloured pink, no, that's the first. That pink, that green, and what other colour we got in there? And a lilac and a deeper purple. Oh. And get my little watercolour book out. So I shall turn you around while that wheel's just doing what it's doing. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So, can you see? Yeah, you can. Right, so I've got these 3 colours, or 5 colours I should say, all watercolour pens. And I'm going to just do the exact same thing as what I've done on this page. I'm going to flip that over and do it on the other side. And I'm just going to draw, that's the fine side, that's the one I want. I'm going to draw some lines across there. And I'm going to do some quite big patches of the pinks, because these are all the different shades that was on those already, on those flowers. And that one. Have I got a lighter shade of pink in there? I have. That side. Right, that's going more into that purple. And then I'll go with this deeper purple. Put them together with this bit of green. I'll put the green down here as well. And you can see just by doing that, okay, you can see what the dominant colours are. Right, so you've got the purple's quite strong, but then when you start adding the green in, it calms down those really strong bold colours. So when I add some water to them, so I'm just going to that dry sec. So by doing that, can you see then? It's quite hard to see. They need to dry a little bit, but then my phone's being glitchy. There you go. So you can see already by adding in those shades and just a pop of different, maybe different tones of green, you're really going to calm down the pink pigments, but they can all stand up for themselves at the same time. And from a distance, oh, you can't really do the distance thing on this cam because it's such a naff. But it's not overpowering at all. So you've got the different shades of pinks in there. Add in just a couple of different pops of green in there. You could go with an olive green even, or a forest green. And this was more emerald. And then add in a deeper shade of the purple, or even a really bold pink. It really just calms those colours down. But they all stand to attention in their own right, if you get my meaning. Let that dry. So yeah, So that it's just about thinking about putting colours together without them looking silly, and what they're going to look like afterwards. Because you might want just a plain coloured all the way through. Who knows? I mean, I was thinking of doing my wool so it ends up in a gradient when I'm spinning it. So like what I was doing in my video today, not fractal, but doing a gradient spin. So I'd end up, start with like a blue base, and it would go into browns, and then it go into cream, and then do the opposite way, weaving back out of it. So you end up with like a creamy coloured band in the middle of my coat on my weaving, but then go into a darker shade when it gets to my top. Ratios of the colours affect each other too. Exactly. It's about just trying to find a nice balance between the colours you want. So if you go to a fibre artist and you ask them for a custom order, and you say, look, I want something that looks similar to this, but I don't want the green, or I don't want the pink to be as bold as it's there. I'd rather that just be speckled throughout, and I'd rather have more tones of greens in my wool. But I want to have this feel of this bouquet of flowers, or the colour of the sunset over a lavender field. And you just say to them, can you just bring down those ratios a little bit, those colour tones a little bit for me, and I have more of this one in there instead, because that's really what the colour is that attracted me to it in the first place. In any good wool dye, I'll be able to do that for you. Right, we're nearly there. I'm just going to turn the heat up on this. Probably a bit more dye. Come on out of the way. Not dye, citric. Because I added in that extra blob of purple, blue into this section, so I'm just going to add a little bit in there. Move my kettle out of the way. Crikey, that's 30 minutes already. Do you know this camera's on one again? There we go. We had this last week. I told it it's going to behave itself today, and it's not having it. There it goes again. Still going. There we are. I'm just trying to get rid of this blue dye a bit. It's really quite strong because I added in extra. But I don't want to burn my wool at the same time, because this is the bit that I want done. Wonky house. So yeah, so that's what I mean about colour therapy. It's just about putting colours together and having a play around. I'm trying to think, even if you had like old acrylic yarns at home in colours that you like, just cut off little swatches and just wind them around a piece of card, and then see what the colours look like together. That might really draw your eye to creating something as a really pretty weaving. Because you are going to be wearing this if we get that far. If I don't give up in the end. Yeah, so this is what I'm doing today, and then yeah, blending them all up next week. So fingers crossed this comes out in the colours that I really want. But it won't be a big shambolic mess if it doesn't quite come out, because I have got colours upstairs that I can use. But then I don't actually mind that brown's gone in that sort of greeny colour. I don't know why it's done it, because it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be olive brown, not olive green. But it's not too bad, to be fair, and I do like woodland autumnal colours, and I've gone with these colours because I want something that I can wear all year round. I mean, I could go for, I mean, I do love lemon. So, I mean, I could have gone for a lemony colour, but I would feel a little bit silly wearing something so bright and loud and in your face in the middle of winter. So I wanted something that I could use anytime, and with my jeans as well. Because I do wear jeans a lot. Dog's sulking down on the floor because I've ignored her. She's just been treated. She's just had chicken. Yeah. So this, I think this is nearly done. I think I might put this in the sink in a minute. What have I done with my tongs? Where are we at now? Come on. Oh, it's nearly saturated all that dye. Well, that's good. Yeah, this can go in the sink now. Cool. some white undertones in there. Let's turn this off a second. Right, bear with me a second, I'll just get this one in the sink. Right, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water out my kettle. So there is approximately, go depth, approximately half a centimetre of water in there. Half a centimetre water in that tray, that 17 by, was it 17 by 30 I said, inch tray. And then I'm putting 200 grams into this pot. And then I'm going to do the process again. But I think this time I will omit the olive brown if it's going to go green again. Because I'd rather not have too much of that green in there. But I've got some espresso beans. So I might use that one because it's more browny than it is greeny tones. So I will do that. I'm just going to get this all measured in my tray. If I was just doing a hodgepodge dye in this, like I just want the certain shades and colours of one colour from blending from my bats, I wouldn't bother with this faffing about up and down, but because I want a gradient, I'm doing it this way. To be fair, I could do it up and down that way as well, and it would probably do the same. I just have to remember to pour lengthways. But I just feel that I can get more colours in my tray when I use it lengthways like this. So all that water that's in there now is all going to saturate inside. This will, it's nearly ended, nearly gotten on at the end. There we go. So just wedge that down. So have I missed any questions? Or you're all going to attack me on Saturday on my blinking Instagram live chat. So I think what I'll do is I'll use some of this espresso bean and add that to the pecan, or not the pecan, the brown. Where's my little spoons gone? Yeah, to the brown, olive brown that I was using, just to break down that greeny tone. Add that in there. Give it a swirl around. Okay, see if that works any better. So, dash of that in that one. And I'm just going to go a bit further up with this blue, the steel blue. I'm not going to add the midnight because it's too purple. So I'm not using that one, but I will use it in something else. That is my chocolate brown, which I will put up here. And then the last of the tan, which also breaks. It does have a lovely, like, little pink pigments to get left behind on that one. And then this one, which should end up quite a strong pigment because I've added in extra dye to this, just to get rid of that greeny tinge. I'm going to add that in there. Okay, get my citric acid. Top of had my spoon. And if anybody asks later on what am I using for scooping my citric acid out, I do have these little scoop things that come in my box. Where are they? These ones, they're the equivalent of a spoonful of coffee going in your percolator. That's all that is, it's a spare percolator spoon. I just find it easier because my citric acid sits in a big clay stoneware pot down on the floor. And it just means I can reach it properly. Oh, put that in there. Turn the oven back on again. Squish down my whirl. Yeah, so that's about it. I had 4 people in here, now I've gone down to 2. Oh dear. Obviously something I said. No. I'm actually using, I think, my data, which is why it keeps going a bit glitchy now and again. So it's my fault because I was uploading onto, I've not got strong Wi-Fi this week. I don't know what's going on. But I couldn't even upload any new products onto the website this morning. I had to go on to my data usage and upload on from that. So that's how I've forgotten. So if it goes a little bit glitchy and laggy, that's why. Because the weather's flaming useless at the moment. I swear the weather affects our internet. So Anne, have you decided what colours you're going to go with yet? So what have I got to do today? I've got some custom orders to get dyed up this afternoon, so I can get them popped in the post tomorrow. Yeah, and I think that's about it today. Let's get this finished off. I'll show a picture later on my Instagram so you can see them. Yeah, and I think Saturday lunchtime. You haven't come up with any colours yet for yours. Oh, sweetie. What's your favourite colours? I might see if I can go and find some pictures on Google for you and see if anything sort of triggers your idea of what you'd like. Have you got any favourite colours? See, I love coastal colours. I love all those seagrasses and things on clothes, like the sedges and the soft greens and the grass yellows, and they can look really nice together. Oh, pardon me. But this one's turned out more of a moody beach. Well, whip out your paints and send a swatch. Yes, definitely. See if we can come up with something together. So what we're at 45. We're at nearly 45 minutes this weekend. I've done well, and I'm up to 2. I was up to 4 people, now down to 2. So anyway, this will get uploaded once I come off in a minute, and it'll probably take anything up to 24 hours for it to go back onto my channel, for you to go back and watch if you think you need to at any time, or for anybody else to watch it, or for you to share it with your friends. What fibre am I using, Caroline? I am using one of the fibres that was actually in my advents that you got at Christmas. It's the flax, merino and silk blend. I just love the way it comes out. Really, I mean, that's it there. I mean, it's a bit light. Sorry about the light. It's a bit rubbish, but it's so dark in the house. But you can see the flax all the way through there. And I just absolutely adore spinning this stuff. and I think it's such a love, because I'm wanting to weave a jacket. I wanted something that I could add more flax in upstairs to when I'm blending it up as well, to make it a bit more lighter. And I've also got, I think it's a llama and silk brown blend upstairs to add to this. So I wanted to make it light, that I could wear layers underneath, but then nice and lightweight with it, like a nice shirt underneath in the summer months. But yeah, that's what that is. I'm using the flax, merino and silk blend from World of Wool. But that's what you got a sample of at Christmas in your advent calendar set. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to turn out, because as I said, I've gone with the blues, then the browns, up into this goldy straw beige, and I am going to be adding some more blue to it from a dyed merinos, and I've got a lovely merino nylon blend that I use in my blending, that I've put some aside for myself, and I'm probably either going to use red Erie silk as a highlight in my spinning, or the wildflower sari silk noil as well, just to give pops of colour in there so it doesn't look so bland. So yeah, but that's what I'm going to be doing. And this one I'm just going to dye up in a minute. It's 100 grams sat on its own. The others have got colours in, and I'll probably go for a champagne or something, or even the other soft. I've got a desert sand in my cupboard, which is a bit of a softer shade of this one, and dye that 100 up. Oh, you love my videos. Thank you very much, Caroline. You'll have to get me, you have to send me on little mini missions to do blending videos for you. Either that, you sent me an email last year about, I don't know if you got my reply, but just drop me a message and we'll do oh, not Zoom. What's the other one? What's the other one to Zoom? Video conference things.
Zoom?
No, not Zoom. The one that usually everybody uses.
Or FaceTime.
FaceTime or something like that. Phil's off today. FaceTime or something. Yeah, and I can help you do some blending of your own, like you asked last year. Totally forgot all about that. So yeah, oh, and my Easter set bundle sets are coming up on the website in the next couple of weeks, so watch out for that. Right, but that's news for Saturday. That's Saturday's news on Instagram. So yeah, no, it's great. Oh, I'm up to 47. Brilliant. 47 minutes. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll post pictures of what these look like later on. Fingers crossed they've turned out really, really nice, because it's always a bit in a hit and a miss. You never quite know how it's going to turn out. That's what I love about it. But thank you very much for all your support today, coming to watch me on my second official live chat on my YouTube. Next week it'll be me blending this lot up into my bats and having a chat about putting fibres together to try and highlight fibres or to calm them down, and my blending process when I do that as well. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope this video was useful today. I know it's the same dyeing video and from last week, isn't it? I think I'm nearly doing the same colour as I did last week as well. So thank you very much everybody for joining in with me today. Any comments, put them down below. You're welcome, and Mr. John Rushmere. Put your comments down below if there's any questions or you want any tips or help with information. Just drop me in the comments down below. Hit the thumbs up. People can find me then when the more subscribers or the more people that actually hit a thumbs up, the more I go up in the stream when it comes for other people to watch videos. I've only just figured out I can hashtag, which has helped a little bit, because I'm up to 109 viewers on my YouTube now. So that's always a good thing. It does. So you take care of yourselves. Don't forget Saturday live chat on Instagram about noon, and I'm not quite sure what I'll be doing on Saturday. Probably just pottering around. So thank you again. Take care, and I'll see you next week.